Trump is unpresidential. Well, how unpresidential is it for a president?
You look too comfortable.
I'm very comfortable.
Buri Hashem.
Yes, Buri Hashem. How's this rain? What is this happening here? This blessing, where it come from?
It's beautiful. Thank God.
Yeah.
Shkoyach.
It's burning in a hit last night yesterday. It's too hot. But the forecast like gives it like a cloudy, not raining.
No, last night they said it's gonna rain.
I didn't have time to catch up. Three minutes and counting.
Are you still at the kosher market?
No.
Oh. Shkoyach.
Oh, your background is back.
Driving.
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 How do you set up the background?
Say it again.
How do you set up the background?
You gotta go to the settings,
Uh-huh.
and it's called a virtual background. That's where you can change it.
You can set your own background also?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to upload.
That's how some of them have the background of the Kotel, and then some of them have the background of 770.
There you go.
Okay. Maybe I'll do mine of Panovich.
Very funny. Very
Yeah.
Shkoyach Rab Noyach.
Ram, I can do Saturday night anytime you want. 2 or 3 hours.
Good sign. We're back to traffic on the 10 and 405.
All right. Right. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Shabbos Daf Ayin Zayin. We're going to continue to learn the sugya of shiurim, that there is a minimum amount of an item that needs to be carried in order for one to be liable. And as we are learning the sugya of wine, we will continue to learn about the minimum shiur of congealed wine. And as this relates to the shiur of mashkin in the Mishka, which is generally the shiur of a revi'is. We will get into various topics off the direct sugya of Shabbos, beginning with various words. The Gemara is going to want to know whether they are spelled either with an aleph or with an ayin. From there, we're going to go into moedika agadete, beginning with Abraisa, Tanarabanan, Kol, Ma, Shebara, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ba'ilama, Ilai, Bara, Davar, Echad, Levatala, that Hashem does not create even one little minor thing, so to say, needlessly. We're going to learn about 5 instances where Hashem naturally imbued the fear from something very small upon something, some creature that's very big. Today you see in the world, mamash corona is very small, and the ganze Welt is filled with fear from it. But the Gemara is going to speak about the 5 small and the big. We're going to record the time that the Reb Zeta found Rabbi Yehuda standing at the door of his father-in-law's home, and he was in a very elated Freile Chamud. So Reb Zeta felt he asked a chaparein, and he asked him, he inquired of him, first of all, about various intriguing natural phenomena, as well as the reason why certain words, certain names are named as they are. And we're going to conclude this Agadah with a statement in the Gemara that Shloisha, there are 3 things in the world, Kolzman, Shemaskinin, the older they get, Moisifin Gevura, the stronger they get. And then if we'll have time, we're going to come back to the other items, liquid items that the Mishnah mentioned, and the Mishnah gave to them the unusual minimum share. The usual minimum share for liquids is a revius. But the Mishnah also enumerated various items that even in a much smaller amount of revius, they already have enough chashivus for someone to be liable for carrying them, beginning with oil. And God willing, we'll begin the sugya of oils. All right, and a lot more. We left off almost towards the middle of the Amid and Daf Ayin Zayin. We are 13 lines from the top of the Amid. In middle of the line, Tanach. It's after we concluded recording the Machlokes, Rava and Abaya. And we learned this Machlokes the way one derech of Tosfos, that they both subscribed that Hamoitzi Yayin, when the Mishnah speaks about taking out pure, undiluted wine, they both subscribe to the shiur of a quarter of a revius. Only question is, Rava holds that shiurim, by something that's not connected to items, to liquids that are not used for medicinal purposes, but are used for drinking, they all have to be connected to a revius. And Rava understands that the reason why taka, pure wine, is considered chashuv when you have the amount of a quarter of a revius is because Rava holds that you need to add 3 ratio water to 1 ratio pure wine. In other words, a quarter of a revius of undiluted wine will become a revius when you dilute it in order for it to become a proper beverage. And vital, so this is connected to the shiur of a revius. And under that, everything has to come back to the shiur of a revius unless there is some sort of medicinal purpose for that liquid. Now let's continue based on that. Says the Gemara, Tani, we learned in Abrais. What about Yavesh? Yavesh, my friends, means congealed wine. Now, based on the premise, Nachamol, that shiurim by wine has to do all with a revius, but now that it's congealed, so says the Gemara, the minimum amount for which you'll be liable for carrying is bikizayis. This is a Tanach. So says the Tanach Reb Nosson. Now, how do we get to the share of a kizayis? And as we will see soon in the Gemara, but let's read it inside the Rashi. You guys, look inside under the Gemara, the second, so to say, wide line in Rashi under the Gemara. Rashi divrei hamaschal b'kizayis, the me'ekara have a beta is zot Rashi. And we have with us Shira Wines online, right? Gabriel, what is the Gemara telling us? That if you have a revius of liquid, diluted, drinkable wine, and when it congeals, so it shrivels up, do you know what the revius turns into? A kizayis, gavaldik. So the shiur of a kizayis of congealed wine is also connected. Really, it's about the revius. Now that it congealed, you have a kizayis. Now, Rashi says something gavaldik. Hold on. What did we begin in the Mishnah with? The first din in the Mishnah was about undiluted wine. And what did we conclude? And the way Tosfos learns, bein l'Rava, bein l'Abaya, that what is the shiur of undiluted wine for which you'll be liable? A quarter of a revius. So let me ask you a question. Why doesn't the Gemara also speak about what happens if undiluted wine becomes congealed? The Gemara is not addressing that. The Gemara is only telling you the shiur of properly drinkable wine, that a revius of drinkable wine, when it congeals, it becomes a revius. What happens if pure wine becomes congealed? And how much pure wine when it's in a liquid state, a quarter of a revius, says Rashi, Vaiteru bekarus, revius shalema be'inan, the lav bar mizigam. In other words, that since if you're going to begin with pure wine, right? If you're going to begin with pure wine, that is to begin with not drinkable, and noch on top it congealed, you won't be chayav for that. You won't be chayav for that. When are you chayav for undrinkable wine? When at least it's in a state where as it is, it's dilutable. So it's liquid. Since as it is, you can dilute it right now and make it into a revius, you're chayav. But if not that congealed, it's so far away from it being drinkable, Yitaka won't be chayiv. When are you chayiv? Oh, when are you chayiv for congealed wine? If you already have, at least it's already diluted. It's already diluted, now it became congealed. So therefore, since you began with a revius, you're chayiv now when it's in the size of a kazayas. The truth be told, all of these concepts are very much connected, Bekitzin. The whole sugya of chatzi shir is asr min ha-Torah. If you remember that sugya, Shitas Rabbi Yechanan, and why does he hold that chatzi shir is asr min ha-Torah? So Rabbi Yechanan says the words because chazili it's tarufei. Because the very fact that if you have half and you can add to it another half, you'll have an entire shir, is the charaya, either it's a siman, or it means that this in itself is chashuv as it is, chazili it's tarufei. This is very similar to these concepts. That in other words, there has to be a certain potential of it turning into a revius of liquid wine, by mashkin, it's a revius. And the farther you take it away from that revius, the less liable you'll become. Let's go back into the Gemara.
Amen.
Says Rabbi Yosef, I want you to know that the Tanach Rab Nosson that we just learned, as well as the Tanach Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yehuda, Amru Davar Echad, they both are saying a halacha based on the same principle, which is that a revius of liquid, when it congeals, it turns into the size of a kizayis, and Amnosin is exactly what we just said. The reason why he says you're chayv for a kizayis of congealed, like we explained, because it comes from a revius of of diluted wine. Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yehuda, where did he say? Where did he give a halacha that's based on this premise? The Tanya. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shisha Devarim, Mikule Beishamai, Mechumre Beisilo. There are 6 items in which Beishamai is the lenient one and Beisilo is the chomer one. And as Rashi very importantly points out, Rashi 6 lines under the Gemara, don't think that Rabbi Yehuda is saying that throughout the entire Shas, there are only 6 times where Beishamai is the Mekel. If you're going to count, you'll see it's much more than 6 times. The statement of Rabbi Yehuda is referring to a specific instance where the Chachamim gathered Bekerem B'Yavne. This is connected to Masechtas Eiduyos, and there Rabbi Yehuda testified that I received these 6. Just to get that clear, he's not saying that there aren't any more than the 6, but he then shared the 6 that he knows of, where Beishamai is the Mekel and Beisilul is the Chomer. Sometimes when the Gemara gives these quotations, the Gemara goes through all of them. Here we're going to stick to the point. Now the Gemara is only going to quote one of the 6, which is connected to this concept of us saying that a kazayis congealed comes from a revius liquid. And what does that mean regarding dam nevela? Now we know, as we learned many times, that there are many items that the Torah imbues in them a din of tuma. One of them is an avela. An avela means a dead animal. When the animal dies, it is a av hatuma. And not only is it metama, something that had contact, halachic contact with the whole carcass of the dead animal, even if you have only a kazayis basar minavela, it's also matama. Now the question is, what about dam that left the animal when it was already dead? It's called dam nevela. So interestingly, Beishamai holds mitaharim. Wow. The emes is there's a machlekes rishonim what Beishamai means. Some rishonim say that Beishamai is not saying that the blood that leaves a carcass of a behema is mamish tahar. No, they mean that it doesn't have the tum on the level of an av, but the dam has tum on the level of a rishon, and therefore it could be matama oichlen or mashkin. Other rishonim learn that Beishamai holds that dam nevela is mamish pure. Hillel say mitamin. No, that dam of a nevela is like bsar nevela. It's an avatuma. Now the question is, okay, now that we have this halacha of Beis Hillel that are the machmidim, how much dam do you need? By the basar, we know the shir is a kazayis. Kazayis, basar nevela, gives off in parts tuma. What about by dam? And on that said the Tana Amar Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda that after shetimu beis Hillel leitimu ela bedam sheyesh by revi'is. The shiur is a revi'is. You have to have a revi'is of dam nevela to impart, to convey tuma. Where did they get the shiur of a revi'is? Says the Tana. Because since this is the amount that if it congeals, it becomes a kazayas. So be'emes, it's a kazayas from an avela that's matame. And we all know that when it comes to the flesh, kazayas basar is matame. We did not receive directly a Kabbalah, what's the din by dam? So it must be that it's connected also to the kazayas. How much is that in liquid? Aravis. So here you see the same link. That something in the liquid form, if it is a revi'is, when it becomes solid, it turns into the size of a kazayas. Now, it mamish sounds like Takir, Rav Nosson, and Rabbi Yossi are saying the same shita. Amar Abaye, just like we had above, Abaye challenged Rava. Here also comes along Abaye and he says, Dilma loihi, lav dafke, they are not necessarily interdependent. They don't have to travel on the same track because I can argue at kan lekomer Rav Nosson hache here in Hilchos Shabbos and taka the din is the boy revi'is. Here you need to have it everything. The reason why we say a kazayas of congealed wine is chashuv. You're liable because it's linked to the revi'is. We're speaking about a mitzias. Is ela behind the kalish? Yeah, wine is a liquid relative to blood. It's looser. And therefore, when wine congeals, how much wine do you need to have that while it is congealed, it will be a kazayas? It begins with a revi'is. And then this din is connected to the din of mashkin. You carry mashkin, including wine, according to Rava. Has to do with the shiur of a revi'is. Abel bidam desmich, but blood is very thick. Kazayas live by a revi'is. An olive-sized piece doesn't require a revi'is. In other words, even less than a revi'is of liquid dam will turn into a kazayas. Gewaldig. Oy bazoi, maybe even less than a revi'is, is metame. He might hold that way. He doesn't necessarily link it. He says kazayas. Let's go with the kazayas. Okay, you don't even need a revi'is to come to a kazayas. In other words, if he would hold to this link, then he wouldn't have the shiurim. You need a kazayas, but you don't need a revi'is of them. Number one. And in the reverse, inami, and I can say the same thing in the other direction. Where he says that the kazayas sagele berevi'is fakert. Maybe he holds that when you have blood, and blood is very thick, so there you need to have a revi'is to turn into a kazayas. Elabadam desmich. But by yayin the klish, since wine is thinner, one kazayas of congealed wine came from perhaps a larger amount of a revi'is. And since we are saying that when it comes to liquids on Shabbos, unless they have some medicinal purpose, if it's a beverage, the chashivus limit, the minimum limit is a revi'is, so you have to have a revi'is. And since fakert he might hold that when you start out with a revi'is, when it congeals, it becomes smaller than a kazayas, maybe he'll hold that you'll be chayiv chatos even if you took out less than a kazayas of congealed wine. And therefore, again, these two tanaim are not necessarily interdependent. Okay. The next din in the Mishnah, after was yayin again, pure wine, right? We have 3 lines on bottom of the Amid. Chalav kedei geniyah. Milk, the size of a swallow. Now, the Gemara for the next couple of lines is not going to go into Hilchos Shabbos, but we're going to go into Hilchos Digduk. And many times we have this Aleph Ayin connection. Aleph Ayin Stam to Lahoyed. First of all, really, they have different sounds. Aleph and Ayin, especially if they are pronounced properly. But as far as Al Pi Kabbalah, that we divide the 22 letters in what we call the Hey Moitza'as Hapeh, just to know that the Aleph and the Ayin, they are in the same group. They all come from the Gorain. Right? That's why, for example, that Vo'ed, Baruch Shem Kivem Vo'ed, Chassidus, what he speaks about is really Echad B'chilufei Asvin. So there is a real Pnimizdika connection between Aleph and Ayin. And maybe that's why maybe Bashkocha Pratas, us Ashkenazim, we don't even make the sound that different. And now we're gonna want to know how to spell words properly, beginning with our din. So the Mishnah says Kedei Gemiyah. The Mishnah spelled the way it's spelled in our Shas, Gimel Mem Yud Ayin Hey. And the Gemara asks, Elyahu, they asked in the yeshiva, hold on. Kedei Gemiyah, maybe Gemiyah spelled Mitan Aleph. It means swallowing, this is Digduk. Oy Kedei Gemiyah Mitan Ayin. So I'm going to Yitzchak, based on the pasuk in Chayesara, where Rivka was asked, Hagmeini no ma'at mayim mikadech. Give me now to swallow a bit of water right from your jug and swallow. And there, Hagmeini is spelled with an aleph. So the Gemara is correcting that the correct spelling of Gemiyah is not the way it's spelled in our Mishnah, but it's spelled with an aleph. You see from all this, even though the Gemara came to this conclusion, no one changed the spelling in the Mishnah. That's the way Torah comes down. We write it the way we were MERCAVA it. And then we keep the correction in the Gemara. Now that we're speaking about Aleph and Ayin, let's go to other areas. When we have the din, which we have, Mamash had a dafag on the prior Pedic, when we were speaking about shiurim of solids, so the shiur is without the shells and without the pits. That was why, and then we had the exceptions, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the lentil klippers, but there when we spoke about pits, so garinim. So the question is garinim mitan aleph, garinim mitan ayin. That's the kasha. And just to go back in the Mishnah daf ayin vav amid beis, by us it's spelled mitan ayin. The Mishnah says v'garinehem, but the Gemara is asking how do you really spell it? Amar Rav Ula. We had about Parshas Bechukaisai last week. V'nigra me'erkacha. It shall be deducted from its value. These are the dinim that when you're magdish a sada, that the trader prescribes a fixed value that you could redeem it from hegdish, right? To 50 silver shekel for every sada that is 75,000 square amas. But the money, the 50 shekel kesef, is if you redeem it in the beginning of the Yovel cycle. And then the trader says that as the years go on, you deduct, right, the sela and the pudyain for each year. So you deduct, and the Gemara understands that a pit is deducted from the edible mass of the fruit. So pits, the reason why a pit is called a gad'in in Lashon HaKodesh is because you're losing out from the iked, from the meat. And since the Torah uses the words v'nigra metan ayin, so therefore gad'inim is spelled metan ayin. Another question. These are regarding coals, right, that are partially extinguished but are still glowing, which is, gecholois, oimemois is another very important mystical theme. But let's come back over here. So when you speak about oimemois, again, these are coals that are partially extinguished but they're still glowing. Is it metan aleph or metan ayin? Oimemois or oimemois? Since it says in Yechezkel regarding the Assyrian kingdom that they were so mighty and powerful at their moment that Arozim loy amamu began Eden began Elohim, that even cedars will not dim the splendor of the Assyrian kingdom. Even the cedars of Gan Eden don't over beautify it. And there we have the words amamu metan ayin. So there amamu metan ayin. And the final one, Ibayil will ask in the yeshiva. Ma'amtzin tanan or ma'atzmin. Ma'amtzin, sorry, here we're speaking about the din to be ma'amitzinayim, is that when a person passes away, in our tradition, we close the person's eyes for their covet. And you better do that quick because after a person passes away, the body very quickly becomes hard. And that's a din that on Shabbos one may not be ma'amitz the einayim of a mace, because of the dinim of muktzah. So is the din on Shabbos. So when the word ma'amtzin, closing the eyes, again with the aleph or with an ayin, Amar Rabbi Chiya Amar Rabbi Yechanan, a pasuk in Yeshaya, where it says, V'oitzem einov mirois b'ra tzadik, one who averts his eyes from seeing evil, and there you have v'oitzem einov mirois. So l'chayda the oitzem goes on the ma'amtzim, and here it's spelled mit an ayin. Tana Rabbanan says the Gemara. A moment, jump back to Hilchos Shabbos. Hamoitzi Chalav, the Mishnah spoke about transporting milk, but the Mishnah did not specify, are we speaking about animal milk? Are we speaking about human milk? So here, let's learn more details in the Braisa. Hamoitzi Chalav shel behema, if you are carrying behema's milk, animal milk, so the din is, as we learned in our Mishnah, Kedei Gemiyah. if you have enough for one swallow. According to many Rishonim, this same shiur is used other times in Shas with the words Maloi Lugma. The one sheikful is normally the same amount that goes down in a swallow. That is the shiur that is chashuv enough for you to be chayiv. What about chalav shel isha, if it's human milk, or the loivin shel beitza, or the white part of a raw egg? They shear S-H-A-R-E, they share the same shiur. And what is that? Even less than kedei gemia. It's here, it's kedei litain, b'meshifa shel kilar. So let's come back to the kilar. So the kilar, they used to put primarily, we're speaking about the kilar that is put for medicinal purposes, some sort of eye ointment. Now, how did they make this eye ointment? They began with a very solid paste. That's what we are referring to the kilar here. And that paste needed to be diluted, and they would begin either using human milk or using the loivin beitza. And then the next step is the step that we learned in the Mishnah, and they would mix it together. And then they would add to it water. Now, even though the Mishnah nor the Braisa specifies, the Rishonim speak out, when you're making this ointment, well, how much ointment are you making? So it's a given, we're speaking about someone who's making this ointment for their eyes, for 2 eyes. So the amount of either human milk or loivin beitza that's needed to put into this paste, to turn it into the kilar, which is a very small amount, it's much less than the maloi lugma. It's much less than kedei gemia. That is already chashuv, because since people store that item because it's needed to make one application, it's chashuv. And vaited kilar, how much of the kilar? Kedei lashuv b'mayim, enough that is needed that if you were just to add water, you have a ready-made product. It's amazing. The Mishnah goes in the opposite direction, but one complements the other. So how much water? The water that's needed to mix into this kilar. How much kilar? The kilar that's needed, that if you only add water to this, you'll already have enough to put the eye, it was like a blue eye makeup, and it was worn by men and women, and there was a medicinal part to it. That's the shiur. By Rav Asher, we're speaking about such small shiurim. When you apply any ointment, here we're speaking about on your eyes. These are a typical Gemara question. We're coming all the way down to the limit. Okay, so you need, let's say you would need to have at least 1 ounce for both of your eyes. But here I have a kasha, because you would apply it by putting it on your finger and putting it around your eyes. When you put ointment on your finger, some of it adheres to your finger. So when we're giving the shiurim, it's only the amount kedei shifa. Even though kedei shifa means enough to smear on your eyes, practically you'll need a little bit more. But if you did enough, which is needed to put around both eyes, you're chayiv. Or no, you need to have enough to make an ointment that will be plentiful enough that you can put it on your eyes, because you have a little bit more. The little bit more is that which will be deducted because it's going to stick onto your finger. Kedei achiza v'shifa, which is mamash a drop more. And if you did less than that, then it's not chashuv. For that we say, take this question, this inquiry stands. Dvash, honey, how much honey? Kedei litain ala kosis, enough honey that's needed to put on a sore. In the Mishnah, we spoke out the kitzah. Rashi says either we're speaking about a sore that's on the back of a donkey or of a camel, because they are animals of burden, and you put stuff on their backs, and it starts to rub against their backs, and you needed to have honey to help them get rid of the sore. Or it's speaking about some sort of sore on the human hand or foot. Again, honey was used then for medicinal purposes, and that amount that's needed. Now, again, we're speaking about one sore. We're going to get into little minute details. But before we get into Tana, we learned in a Braisa, kedei litin al pikos, on the sore, the honey that's needed to put on the face of the sore. Now, what is the Braisa trying to add? What are we trying to clarify? Does the Braisa mean al kosis, apuma, the chula kosis, on the face of means on the entire sore? The face would mean just like the face protrudes from the body. So when you have a sore, so the sore is also like a little bit inflamed. So it goes up. So all that's on top of the height of the skin has to be covered with honey. That's a little bit more. By Dilma, no, the Braisa meant even less. Amursha, kama de kasis, only on the highest point of the sore. At least on the tip of the sore, there's like a little red dot. Only on that. And lafuke, Hudrana Deloy, not on the slope of the sore, not on the parts of the sore that are going down. Maybe the honey that's needed just to put on the tip. That would be a mamish, a little amount of honey. Again, take this question stance. So now that we're speaking about using one natural, we're speaking about using honey to heal you from a sore. Everything that Hashem, that God Almighty created in God's world, not even one item was created needlessly. Everything has a purpose. And now we're going to go through various creatures that to us appear to be mazikin creatures or not beautiful creatures, and we don't understand why God made it. And here Chazal give us some insight, just to be aware of that. Obviously, these Gemaras, like all, have many layers of understanding. The Marsha understands the next few lines as speaking about the various golusin. But let's read it inside. That bara shablul, that God creates a slug, a snug, a slug, a snail. For what likasis? That type of shablul, when you place it on the sore, it's a lot better than honey. People placed honey because they couldn't get hold of the shablul. But if you place that creature, that type of slug on the kassis, it's right away going to heal it. God created the fly. Why did God create flies? So he's giving you one of the reasons for a fly. Litzira, when you are stung by a hornet, the solution is a fly. Now it's interesting, Rashi doesn't explain each one. There's a reason for that. But when Rashi here, it's Gamalik, 6 lines from the top of the Amit. Zvuv Litzira, what exactly do you do? Zvuv Litzira is like Rashi, Lemisha Aktsai Tzira, if you were stung by a hornet. So Koiteish Zvuv, you crush a fly, umanicha alav, and you put the crushed fly on top of the sting, and that's the medicine. Back in the Gemara. Sometimes the Rashi explains exactly how you do it. Actually, one of them the Gemara will explain, and sometimes Rashi doesn't. Like this one, Rashi doesn't. Yatush is a gnat. A gnat is a mosquito type. They say it's not a mosquito, it's a small 2-winged creature that is like a mosquito. The yatish, if you remember, in the sugi that we had in Gittin, right, in the Nuns, Daf Nun Zayin.
Rabbi, it's called a gnat. A gnat.
That Titus Rasha challenged God Almighty, and what God did to Titus was he sent the yatush up his nose. And that gnat chiseled away in his brain, and it grew, v'chulei, v'chulei. So here, a yatush was created l'nachash. Now, exactly what do you do with the yatush to heal you from a snake bite? The Gemara doesn't say, neither does Rashi. Okay, let's go weiter. Now, why did God create a nachash? It's fascinating. It was created lechafafis. So lechafafis is, says Rashi, it's a min shchin, it's a certain type of boil. And here, the Braise itself, next line, will explain how you use snakes, in plural, to heal this type of shchin. But let's go weiter. This samamis, my friends, is a spider. Why did God create the spider? La'akrav. Wow. So here again, at least Rashi explains, la'akrav, that if a person, God forbid, has a yakitzas akrav, a person was stung by a scorpion. So here again is koitesh samamis, crush a spider, umanicha olav, and put it on the sting. Good. That's the reason why Hashem made it. The second wide line here, the way the Bach Gimel adds that samam the nachash lechafafis hechi avid. No, it's this. We are asking whether this is the Braisa, whether this is the Gemara. Sorry, hechi avid is a lashon of the Gemara. So how everything else we understood, but how do you use a snake to heal the boil? So it says the Gemara. Oh, here it's not one snake. It's not like you crush. Until now, you took that item, you crush it, and you put it. Here, Maisa Chada Ukama, you have to take a black snake. And the Chada Chivar, you have to take a white snake. And you don't crush it. Important, you have to cook it. Guys, the pot is not kosher afterwards. Vishalkilahu, you have to boil it, means you have to cook it a lot. Then Vishai, then you take the guk that's in the pot and you rub it on this min shchin, and there you go, and you are healed. Now, let's go weiter. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a Braisa. Oh, I'm sorry. When the Marsha spoke about the Goliath sin, it goes on the next statement. Tana Rabbanan, Chamisha Amos saying, Eimas cholosh al gibar. In the world, there are many fears that Hashem imbued in the world. Some of them we can opt out of, and that's the goal, or not opt in. But in nature, where they don't have bechira to choose to be afraid or not to be afraid, so there's a natural fear from the weak on the strong. In other words, the strong one is afraid from a chalosh. And here are the 5 times. And again, these 5, the Mashal says that's really about the Seder of Golus, that the strong ones refer to various nations, and we are considered, the Yaakov is a small one, we are the weak ones, and ultimately they all fear us. So here we go. But let's in the Pshat and the Gemara. Amos mavgia alari. A lion is the lion, the king of the Chayas. A mavgia, Rashi says, chaya ketana. It's a small chaya, it's a small non-domesticated chayala. V'koila gadol, but it makes a lot of noise. And v'shomeya v'yarei shetahei beri gadola. When you hear the sound of the mavgia, you think, wow, this is a huge, humongous animal, and the large animal runs away from the mavgia. Who runs away? Even the lion, by nature, is afraid of the mavgia. It's not good to know that a large coil, by nature, imbues fear. You know, today many people have the safety thing for the kids. They have these little clickers, and you get a click, and samachta coil rash gadol, coming from a little kid, and taka, the gadol runs away. Next is the amos yatush. Yatush, again, is a small net that there is a natural fear from the yatush. Who fears the yatush? The groisa elephant. And what's for the groisa elephant? So Rashi says, because the net has a minig that he tries to enter the trunk of the elephant. And once it enters the trunk of the elephant, now the elephant cannot get rid of it. So it's afraid of the little net. The next is ve'ema samamis al ha'akrov, that a spider is a little compared to the scorpion. The scorpion is afraid of the spider. It's interesting. Just like we learned above, that's the link, that the scorpion, like Rashi says, when you crush up a spider, you put it on the sting of a scorpion, there you go, you're healed. Here, the living akrov is afraid of a spider, farvos, because the spider enters the ear, head, it enters the ear of the akrov, and then the akrov can't get rid of it. All of this obviously have many other deeper meanings, but how intriguing is this? Next, the amos sinunis. Sinunis is a little bird called a swallow, that the small bird. And who's afraid of the small bird? The groisa nesher, the big eagle. And Ashi says that when the nesher is not flying, the samamis naturally goes to the underbelly of the eagle, and it wedges itself in there, and then it prevents the eagle of opening up its wings. So the eagle is constantly afraid of the sinunis. And the 5th one, Emas kilbis. Kilbis is a very small creature. And who's afraid of the kilbis? The groise leviasan, oigavald. And here again, says Rashi, the kilbis is a sheretz cotton. And what does it do? It goes into the ear of the leviasan. Now there's only one leviasan. So the leviasan getarum, constantly afraid not to encounter the kilbis, because once it enters the ear, it can't get rid of it. Now, you just, again, this is a suggestion, al pi drush, al pi tzachos. You see that words are shvach. And when you put words in someone's ears, the power of it, for the good, or God forbid, for the opposite. You have to be very careful what you allow to enter your ears, because even something very little can be embedded in the big leviasan, and that's the end of the leviasan. Okay.
The rabbi says there's 2 leviasans.
No, one of them, Danny, was killed and it's salted for the tzaddikim la'asad lavi. God only created one male and one female. The female is not living. And we learned that together in the Gemara. Why did God not kill the male? But God killed the female and he salted it. And now we have one leviasan. The dead leviasan is not afraid of anything, but it's not living. Okay, enough. Micro, a classical question. If you are telling me there's a phenomenon in nature, it has to be written somewhere in Tanach. It has to be written in scripture, because Hashem looked in the Torah is the blueprint of the world. So it has to be in the Torah for it to be tak in the world. Where do you find this in the pasuk? So we quote a pasuk in Amos, Hamavlik shoyd Allah's befedish, that God is the one that causes the weak to triumph over the powerful. And what's the triumph? That the powerful have a natural fear of the weak in these cases. Okay, says the Gemara Amar Abzeda. So we're speaking about natural phenomena. Rab Zera says Rab Zera, that I want you to know that Ashkach Rav Yehuda. I once encountered the great Rav Yehuda. That he was standing at the door of his father-in-law's house. Obviously, this is significant. This is not the only time that we speak about someone at this door of the father-in-law's house. And V'chazye, Rab Zera saw that what? That Rav Yehuda, that he was in a very freilich mood. And B'chlal, we know that Ein Ruach HaKodesh Shoira, only where there's Simcha, he was in a very elated mood. And Rab Zera had certain questions that were not, so to say, directly related to the Mishnayos. He knew Rav Yehuda knows everything, but he was afraid to speak about these topics. But when he saw him in such an elated mood, so he said to himself that and if I would ask Rav Yehuda in that mood, anything in the world, he's going to respond to me. So let me chaparain and ask him the following questions, and each one of them is a riddle. This is for a pulpit rabbi. Here you have sermons for the whole year. You have to know how to build from here. Amalei, so this is Rab Zera's kashas to Rav Yehuda. My tama izi mazgun bereisha v'hada imrin. Why is it that when you have a pack of domesticated behemadakas, the seder in the world is that generally you have many sheep which are whitish, and who is the sheep leader? A dark goat. Why is it that the black goat is leading the white sheep? Amalei, to which Rav Yehuda responded, Kibri Yasei Shaloilam. That's the way of the world. What's the way of the world? That first it's dark and then it's like the dark leads the light. My Tama, next kasha, Hane Mechasyon v'Hane Megalion. Why is it that by the sheep, by nature, Hashem created to the sheep a tail whose function is also to cover the backside of the sheep? They walk around more modest. They walk around covered. And the goats, they have yena tail, kama tail. It doesn't, they walk around uncovered. So he answered, says Rabbi Yehuda to Rab Zera, I'll tell you why. Because Hane, these sheep, since the machasinan minayu, we cover ourselves from them. Garments come from wool. So they provide covering for mankind. So Kilo Hashem compensates them. So machasiyon, that they naturally are covered. They also don't have to walk around uncovered. But Hani, these goats, even though there's something called a sak, as we learned many times, sak means a garment that's made from goats here, but it's very unrefined and it's not proper begadim. Normally, we don't use goats to cover ourselves. So if they don't provide the service for covering us, they themselves also remain uncovered. So megalion, what you put out into the world, even like in English, what goes around, comes around, what comes around, goes around. This is the Gemara here. Next kasha. My Tama asks Rab Zera from to Rav Yehuda, why is it that Gamlo Zutar Genufte, why does the camel have a small tail? How interesting is the question? You would argue, what's the question? He just explained. He has a small tail, maybe because they don't cover us. Why does he have a small tail? Mishum da'achal kisei, since Rashi says that camels sometimes are fed thorns, and if he would have, so he's drengzech amongst thorn bushes. If Hashem would have given the Gamal a longer tail, then his tail would get stuck. Her tail would get stuck in the thorns. So this is to prevent them from getting hurt. Why does the ox have a long tail? Says the Gemara, because he hangs out in swamplands. And what's filled in the swamplands? You have many bake, you have many gnats, or you have many flies. And he uses the tail to swipe away, to knock away, to chase away the little creature that reizech in the swamp. Why did Hashem make that the horns of the locust is soft? Why is it soft? So he answered, because since these types of locusts, they live on top of willows that are hard, so the willows are hard. And the locust, if the antennas would have been hard, the ikashya, so then every time it would have moved around, hard and hard, the willow would knack against the horns would knack against the willows, and nadia, if they would be hard, they would become dislodged. And what happens to the locust if the antennas become dislodged? Umisavra, it will become blind. So in order for it not to become blind, the horns have to be soft. And that's a good musar haskel in life. That the hard, if we go around with shtechadik horns, it can lead to blindness. To Amar Shmuel, Shmuel says, "Hi man, the boy, the lismeye lekamsa." If you want to make a locust blind, all you need to do is you don't have to touch his eyes. Is lash lufilhu lekarne. All you need to do is you have to dislodge or you have to take out. You have to take out its horns. Next question. My Tama, what's the reason? Asks Rab Zera to Rav Yehuda. That hi timra the tarnagolta madle le'ela. That basically by a human being we have two eyelids and they more or less they marry each other. Shava b'shava. Sometimes you have that the upper eyelid goes over the bottom eyelid. And that also makes sense, just like we have the concept that the right has to go over the left, because that's the emes. Chesed is greater than, has to be in a greater measure than Gevura. That Ruchnius has to be on top of Gashmias. The upper goes over the under. But in nature, you have by the rooster that the lower eyelid, when the eye closes, goes over the upper eyelid. Why is that? Why is that? So he answered, because since the Daire Adape, they live on boards, they live many times on high places. Now, there's smoke going on. Before we have the electricity and the natural heaters and all these electric heaters, you have fire heaters, and there's a lot of smoke going up. And since these creatures live on high places, and many times they live under where there is smoke, think about it, if the upper eyelid would go over the under eyelid, so then the smoke would be able to go into their eyes. Then Miss Avra, they would become blind. So what happens? The under eyelid, the lower eyelid goes above the upper eyelid. So when the smoke goes up, it's the smoke is unable to get into one's eyes. Okay, so this is a whole series of natural, let's say, intriguing phenomena. And now me'inyan le'inyan, we're going to the names of various items. He's trying to figure out why is this item called by the name that it's called. And there's meaning to everything. So one of the names that you have for a door, right, in Aramish is Dasha. Even in English, it begins with a D, Dasha. So he asked, so this is what Abzeda asked Rav Yehuda, why is the word door called Dasha? So he showed him that all of these words is a composite. It's Derech Sham, the path is there, because you enter and exit through the door. Why is the ladder called a Darga? So he answered him, Derech Gag. And by the way, here you see that there's a shidduch between Aramish and Lashon HaKodesh, and that's Takendi the emes, that Aramaic is as a bastardized Lashon HaKodesh, which is a whole separate topic. We have this concept, we learned this, I think, in Brachas, that the Malachi Asharis don't understand Lashon Arami, and we spoke out the whole machloikas, is it that they don't understand any other language other than Lashon HaKodesh, and many Rishonim hold, no, that they understand all languages, but they don't like Lashon Arami, because Lashon Arami, like the better, cleaner word, is a corrupted Lashon HaKodesh. So they get upset, speak the language properly. If it's Bechlal, not some Zach, they tolerate it. But they don't like you corrupting Lashon HaKodesh. And you see all these words. Darga is Aramish. It comes from the words Derech Gag. Miskoiliyasa or Miskoilisa. Miskoilisa is a dip. Why is a dip called Maskoilisa? So the answer, Maskoilisa, is a composite of the words Masai Tichlado. When will this finally finish? Because when you have food in your fridge, you open it up. If it's good food, it's here now. In the afternoon, it's already gone. But when you have a dip, you keep on, the dip never ends. And people get fed up with it. They say, when will this finally finish? Because it's only used in very small measure. Besa. Where does Besa come from? So Besa comes, Ba, this is all Aramish. Ba ve'esiv ba. Besa is inviting, come and sit here. So come and sit here is Besa. Biksa. Biksa is the name that you give for a very small house, a cottage, a little bungalow. It means, it comes from the words Bei Aksa, a narrow home. Kufasa, Kufasa is a mortar. Where does the word mortar come from? Kuf v'tiv, which means tip over and sit on it, because people use the mortar. If you're not using the mortar, they use it as a seat. Livnei, livnei means a brick. Why is a brick called a brick? Livnei, because bricks endure a long time. They endure lebnei b'nei. They'll be for your children, they'll be for your grandchildren. Eran, Gavaldik. Hutza, where do we have Hutza? Hutza, we have the fences, the cheapest fence that you can have, made in China, made out of palm palm leaves. So hutzah is a fence, but since it's made out of very cheap material, it means chatzitza, which means that the only thing that this serves is it provides a chatzitza. There's no greater, but it doesn't have more substance. You can't use it for a mat. It's not going to, at least it provides the chatzitza. Chatzba means a barrel. Chatzba comes, shechoitziv mayim min hanor, that which is used to take out water from a river. Kuza is a little jug. So kuza comes from the words in Lashon HaKodesh, kozeh. When people point to something very little, they say, like this. When they say like this, they normally mean something very little. Shutisa. Shutisa means a hadas, a myrtle. Why is it called in Aramish shutisa? So the answer is because shtusa. In those days, we have this many times in Gemara, when they would dance at a chasana, they would dance carrying an hadas. And when people dance at a wedding, they look like a shoita. And they dance. So imagine, since people look like a fool when they dance by a chasana, mit hadas, so they call that hadas shutisa. Meshichla is a washing trough. It comes from, it's a composite from the words mashe kula. It washes all, everything is washed in there. Mashkilta is a ornamental pitcher. Why is it called that? Because mashya chalsa, a kala washes with it. Asisa is a hand mortar. Now, the common hand mortar was they would have a block of wood. In it, they would carve it as a smile. They would carve out a circle, a bowl, and then they would take a pestle and knock in there. So the word asisa comes from the word here. We changed the aleph and the ches. Many people nowadays, if they can't pronounce a ches, they go into the aleph sound. Is chaserta, means it's a block of wood that it's missing. There's a hollow in it. Buchna is the pestle. The word pestle is a composite from the words boy va'akena, come and I'll beat you. That's buchana. Levusha, this one is cool. What does levusha means? A garment. Levusha is a composite. Loi busha. Loi mit an aleph. You should not be ashamed. B'chal in the Torah, even though later in Parshas Tetzaveh, that ultimately garments are to give us kavod and tifaris. That's the rectified garments. But in the beginning of human nature, in the beginning of human history, the levushim were introduced mamish as a result of the first failing of mankind. And the Torah Taka says that they were arumim v'lo yizbayshashu. In other words, and the garments are there to cover over our shame. That's the lower level of garments, and that's the meaning of levusha. That loy, when you wear a levush, you have no more shame. Gelima is used for an outer coat, and the outer coats were baggy, and that was the purpose. The purpose of wearing a gelima is shenasa boy kigoylim, that you become formless. So take away the form. You have just one big boxy or circular gelima on you. Gulsa is some sort of fine cape. Today we would call the shleimah the Hasidic bekeshes. And what's the minig? Because it's a good material when you sit down. For those who know, this is not like a this is a minig of other Hasidim. They give it as a pick up. They lift it up so it shouldn't get creased, it shouldn't get rubbed out. And that's the meaning of the word. That gulsa means from the word megala, that galei ve'eset. This is, you reveal yourself when you sit down because it's so fine. You don't want to sit on the lower part of this fine sheina Hasidish bekesh. Puria is the name of a bed. Why is a bed called a puria? Sheparin v'raven olel, because on it people are created. Boir is zinka, says Rashi, a dried out pit that got dried out from water. Why is it called zinka? Because zinka is zenaki. Zenaki means it's clean. The word clean, I think even in English, right? I was cleaned out. In other words, when something was and it's no longer there, even if it's not a good thing, you use the word, I was cleaned out of something. Zenaki. Sudara was the turbans that they used to wear. Today would be the Chassidish hats, but it was called a sidura. Who wore the siduras like today? Who wears on a hat? You're more Chassidish. If you're not that Chassidish, you're not medagdig that much to wear a hat. So the word sidura is a composite of soid Hashem li'reiv. Those who are God-fearing, that are merited the special gift of Chachma and the secret that comes into their minds. So what represents that is your thinking hat, Gavaldik. So a turban or today's Yiddish Malbish Elyon, or Beged Kaveh Elyon, your upper hat, that's Sudara. A panda is a palace. That means a pischodein, that all must come to this door. Everyone has to go to the people that have the koyach, the physical koyach that live in the palace. Okay, Tanach Rabbanan. So to close this whole sugya of various, coming just back to all these physical, natural phenomena, says the Gemara we learned in a Braisa, that shloisha, there are three things in the world, that kolzman shemaskinim, that the older they get, moisifim gemura, the stronger they get. Normally, the older you get, the weaker you get. Here, the older you get, the stronger. We're not speaking about a person's intelligence, that we already learned that Talmidei Chachamim kolzman shemaskinim, daiton, right, their minds get sharper, unlike the Amaratzim. But here we're speaking about physical koyach. The Elohein, the fish, the older they get, the stronger they get. The Nachash, the older, the stronger, and Vachazir. Okay. Chavre, let's chaparayim. We have another few minutes to go back to Masechta Shabbos, to Hilchos Shabbos. Again, before we're speaking about all of the beverages, the shiuram is v'revi'is. The Mishnah enumerated a few exceptions. We are up to the oil, and the Mishnah says how much oil is considered chashuv. Kedei lasoch ever cotton, the oil, the amount of oil needed to anoint a small limb from whom? From what? So the Gemara clarifies. So Amru Devei Rabbi Yanai, in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yanai, they were very machmir. They gave a very small amount into the chashivos of oil. Shemen kedei lasoch ever cotton shall cotton ben yoimai. The oil that's needed to anoint the smallest aver. My friend, a finger is a few avarim. We have ramach avarim. An aver of a finger, we have, I think, 3 in the top, or maybe even more. But it means one joint. So think about the pinky of a baby that's just born, not the whole pinky. The one joint of his pinky, that's it. The oil that's needed to anoint that, the aver cotton of a cotton ben yoimai, is already enough oil for you to be chayiv chatos if you carried it b'shoigig. Says the Gemara Meisvei on this approach of the Devei Rabbi Yanai. We learned in a Braisa. It's mashma otherwise. Shemen kedei lasoch aver cotton, and here the Braisa adds vik cotton ben yoimai. It's mashma this or that. This or that l'chu'ura, does that not mean, my love, either an aver cotton the gadol, or, okay, the joint of a pinky of an adult, or that's the vik cotton, or means, or the large limb, aver gadol of a cotton ben yoimai, but not the aver cotton of a cotton ben yoimai. No, loy kasha, that's not the way you learn loy. Hachi kamar, I'll tell you how to learn the pshat in the Braisa. Shemen kedei lasoch aver cotton shel cotton ben yoimai. The vik cotton is an explanation of. It's a further definition of the same. Says the Gemara. Okay, we did not refute the Rabbi Yanai, but we're going to learn a Braisa, and at least it's mashma that at least some Tanoim don't agree with that. They're more lenient. What does it say in the Braisa here? The word shemen, says the Braisa kedei lasoch aver cotton vik cotton ben yoimai. And let's go with the way the Rabbi Yanai teaches, that this is a further explanation of. That means it's an aver cotton of a cotton ben yoimai. These are the words of Rav Shimon ben Elazar. But Rav Nosson argues, Rav Nosson Aimer, kedei lasoch aver cotton. Now what is he arguing with? And l'chura, therefore, my love, b'hakam ifli. The Rav Shimon ben Elazar savar aver cotton shal cotton. We're going with the way the Rabbi Yanai teaches the Braisa above. That one is a further explanation of the other. But Rav Nosson, who argues, is being more lenient. Savar aver, either aver cotton the gadol, or aver gadol the cotton. But the latter Tana, Rav Nosson, the last line of the Amid, Abel Abel cotton shall cotton b'yoimai loy. Says no. Loy, guys, loy doesn't mean no for sure. It means maybe not. Maybe that's not the machloikis in the Braisa. Maybe the kula alma aver cotton the cotton b'yoimai loy. None of these Tanoim subscribe to that which they learned in the Devei Rabbi Yanai. You won't be liable if you carry only that amount of oil. Daf ayin ches. And neither of these Tanoim, Felice the Rabbi Yanai, v'hachin, this Braisa, the last one we had on the Amid, v'hakam ifligi, Rav Shimon ben Elazar savar, aver cotton the gadol, ve'aver gadol the cotton ben yoimai, are the same shiur. And I know you're going to ask, and all of the Rishonim ask, how can you have a machlokes and metzias? But that's the pshat in the Gemara. The first Tanach holds, Rav Shimon Elazar holds, that that's the same shiur, that the smallest avid of an adult and the largest avid of a katan ben yaimai are the same shiur, which is why he quoted both. And Rav Nassan disagrees. Rav Nassan savar that avid katan de gadol in, you will be liable. Rav Nassan holds that the largest avid of a katan ben yaimai is not as large as an avid gadol of a katan is smaller than the avid katan of a gadol, and taki you won't be liable. So again, mamash machlokes metzias, or maybe it's a machlokes. How do you define an avid? There's a lot over here. Bottom line is, if that will be the interpretation, then no one holds the way that Rabbi Yanai holds. So indeed, my have Allah, because if this is taka the pshat, then we will reject shitas the way Rabbi Yanai. So the Gemara says, Tashema, the Tanya, Rav Shimon and Elazar Omer, this is clear. Kedei lasuch aver katan shel katan ben yoimei, mamish like the way Rabbi Yanai. So they are now substantiated. They have a base with Tatana, which is gavaldik, which means when it comes to oil, the smallest amount, the amount of oil that's needed to anoint the smallest avid, let's say the pinky joint, maybe there's a smaller one, of a katan ben yoimai. And Chavre, just to conclude, this is very significant because we know that everything is nimshal l'Torah. So liquids are nimshal l'Torah. And there's many parts of the Torah, which is why sometimes in mayim l'Torah, right, we have the concept of shemen. Let's speak about how oil represents the shamna of the Torah. And we're speaking about the koyach and shemen ha-Torah is pnimius ha-Torah. That when a yid learns the smallest amount of pnimius ha-Torah, mamash the whole mashal of the holy Baal Shem Tov with the stone that was crushed, and if maybe one drop will make it into the mouth of the prince, that if taka we take in, we anoint ourselves, we connect ourselves with the shemen of Torah, even if it is only the most minute amount, so is its koyach, that it somehow, God willing, sooner than later, it completely transforms the entire person for the better. God willing, to be continued.
Rabbi, question on this
Shkoyach.
Very, very good. Very good. I finally understood.
Okay. Jonathan, were you asking something?
Yeah, why can't it just be pshat that a small ever of an adult plus an ever of a child?
No one says that. No one says that. Interesting. No one says this and that.
And that's so. What's the vav for? What's the vet?
What kind of craziness? So you have a machlokes. There's a machlokes whether the aver katan shel gadol is the same size of an aver gadol shel katan, or no. Rav Nassan holds that the aver gadol shel katan is smaller than the aver katan shel gadol. Mamash machlokes and metzias. It's probably a machlokes. How do you define an aver? Like who knows what the machibarim are? What are they?
Rabbi, why do we say brich shmei and yukum porkan in Aramaic?
Very good. So we spoke it out when we learned the Gemara in Brachas. I think it was in Brachas. Because
yeah, I remember, yeah.
Since Malachi Hasharis, Taka don't understand, or they say machen sich nicht wissendig when you speak Aramish, whenever a Yid wants to speak directly to God, he speaks in Aramish. He doesn't want the Malachim to get in the way. Now, when does the Yid have the koyach to speak directly to God? Only when there's a minyan. And when there's no minyan, so it's Shechinta Sharia, al kol be'asara. If you don't have the kol be'asara, then you can't speak directly to God. Then you need the malachim, so to say. And therefore, whenever we daven b'yechidus, we don't say the parts of davening that are ba'aramish. And another detail, whenever we do speak out in the minyan aramish, we say it silently, not to instigate them, not to reach them on. So Brich Shmei said silently, the people, like when the Rebbe davened every word out loud, when he was about Tefilla, the way the Sfardim do. So it's saying Avolat Tziyah, he davened everything loud, and the parts of Avolat Tziyah that is Baramish, that's the only parts of davening that Rebbe davened in a very low undertone.
So what about V'leima Baruch?
V'leima Baruch, we should say if I understand correctly, we're not davening. That is Limud HaTorah. Learning Torah, we all learn Torah, you don't need a minyan. Half of the Torah Shabbat Peh or more is written by Aramish. The Gemara is in Aramish. The Zohar is in Aramish. Parts of Nach are mamish pure Aramaic, and nowhere does it say you have to learn it because that's learning Torah. So
why not do the entire davening in Aramaic, Rabbi?
The entire davening is not in Aramaic, my friends. Who said that? Who said that?
Kevon, why not?
How? Tell me, show me where. Brich Shmei.
I'm saying,
No,
if
he's
you want to
asking
talk
why
to
not.
Hashem directly, why not? If you want to talk to Hashem directly.
Well, first of all, the Malachim are not the way the Goyim think Malachim are. Malachim are Shluchim of Hashem. They don't have their own identity. We never daven to Malachim. But does it have to go through those channels, or does it go without those channels? It's just a channel. If you're talking to God through a channel, you're not talking to the channel. The Malach, you're not talking to the Malach, but you're talking God through the Malach. And whenever there's Shechina Shreida, you don't need to talk through a Malach. And since you don't need to, first of all, most of davening is still the Lashon HaKodesh, but sometimes we daven ba'aramish. Ki'ilu, like the Kohen Gadol, when he went into the Kodesh HaKodshim, no one was allowed to be there. No one, not a person, not a malach. No one was allowed to be there.
Rabbi, where's that saying that they were saying to answer to the Anakadish Yish Meraba loud is getting
that was in brachas.
Yeah.
That's a good example. See, that's great. By the way, Kaddish, that's a good exception. Kaddish is said loud, very good. And Kaddish is said b'lashon hakodesh, and Kaddish can only be said with the ming, and it fits.
It's not Aramic?
No, I'm saying Kaddish is Aramish, but it fits with what we're saying. Kaddish is Aramish, but we only say Kaddish when there's a minyan. I know we say it loud, but we only say it with the minyan. It's a prayer, so to say, that goes directly to God. Even Amen Yehi Shmei Rabba, Amen we spoke out in brachas. Yehi Shmei Rabba's Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Eloi Lavod. Baruch Shem Ba'aramish is Yehi Shmei Rabba Mavarach L'Omayim.
No, is the minion coming back for Shavuos? About time.
Like this. Okay, so just to share what's good, there's a lot of stuff going on. There are a couple of components here. The biggest concern, I'm speaking mamish of all the Rabbanim around the world, is aside of the health issue, which l'chu'ura is already being addressed, there is a huge Chilul Hashem component. And not only is there a Chilul Hashem component, but there's a risk component, which is like this, that there are many people, and even though that some of us tasted a little bit over here, but this is a movement, especially coming from New York, of people that sadly, many of them are Yidden, are real Sonei Yisrael, and they want to point out that the main spread of the virus came from Orthodox Jews. And they're looking at us with 1,000 eyes to show how we, with our religion, that we're spreading the virus. And let me tell you something. There was a wedding 10 days ago in Chicago that someone made in their backyard. You know, by the county law here in Los Angeles, right now, no formal gathering is allowed, even in your own backyard or in your front yard, by the letter of the law. I can have dinner with my kids and grandkids, but if I make a formal gathering, that's why if you read that you can go to the beach, they open the beaches, but you cannot sit on the beach. You cannot congregate around the beach. That's the law of the land. Everything that they're saying is in order to prevent the spread of coronavirus. So when people gather, a minyan is a proper gathering. A chuppah, by the letter of the law, is still illegal to do. So people are doing chuppahs in their backyards. The people are doing weddings in their homes. So there was a chuppah in Chicago, and the neighbors heard commotion, and they did social distancing outdoors, with the masks, 6 feet away. The police were called. They interrupted the chuppah, and it became a big story. And all of this to point out how for religious Jews, they don't care about other people's lives. Now, this, my friend, is mamash a blood libel, and and this is being taken seriously. Just explaining why there's a huge hesitation. First of all, it's not legal. We wanted to get legal. I know that right now here there is a big petition that's being signed by many Rabbanim, myself included, to the local governments, asking them that they should allow faith gatherings at least outside, which is, by the way, very good for us because we have a large outside. Because based on what the medical world is saying right now, especially if you are outside and you're 6 feet apart and with a mask, doesn't spread that way. Even without the mask, social distancing, and even in the rooms, even in a shul, to make social distancing, to limit the crowd, there's a big push. But all of the mainstream shuls from all segments of Orthodoxy are all saying that as long as the city doesn't make it legal, we will not promote it. We will not do it because of the Chilul Hashem aspect. There's another. Rabbi, just want to add one thing, is that just to be aware that just like by most shuls today, including ours, even though by our parents, when you came to shul, if someone was talking, so you had the guy that was shushing everyone, shasha, and it creates a very unpleasant environment in a shul. So just to be aware of what's going to start happening. Shushing is a ruchnius. Ruchnius, you can't talk in a shul. Here, there's taka fear that if you get within 6 feet for a certain amount of time, that's what they're saying, then the virus could spread. So who's going to be the police in the shul? What kind of ruach will that create in the shul? I'm just pointing out the challenges that we all face in the formal world of creating an environment where people have to adhere to social distancing. There's no way around this. And to do it by often that no one shushes someone, no one harasses the other. This is a whole parsha. But you're looking at Israel. All of the Fruma Rabbanim are saying, look at Israel. Israel is a country to be learned from. When they shut it down better than America. And in Eretz Yisrael now, they're opening up. They opened up this week all the schools. They're opening up the schools. I know that certain yeshivas all legally are being opened up with social distancing. So our taina to the local governments is that if it's done with social distancing, it should be mutter. In the vial, it's not mutter yet. And since it's not mutter, I'm just telling you that's the ruach. Since it's not mutter yet, I myself don't think it's not a good thing to go against the Choy Kamedina. It's not Gezeras Hashmad. The government didn't do it against Judaism. They did it to every segment in society. They are opening it up, but they, as of yet, we're not allowed to formal gather. Now, if they do give that heter, I'm saying right now, if it's mutter, then I'm very strongly thinking, again, I have to work amongst the other Rabbanim, that at least we should have Kriyas HaTorah on Shavuos.
Rabbi.
And we can take turns. I mean, we can really social distance. I feel confident. Everyone is gathering today on their front porches. Even people that are rightfully concerned not to get ill, they're doing it in a good way. Sit 6 feet apart, maybe even wear a mask. Saying this can be done. If that's going to become legal, then we have a good discussion. If that will sadly still be illegal, simply because of the Chilul Hashem, I will not advocate to do that. And what people choose to do on their own, that's one thing. But to make shuls opening up when it's against the law, I should know it's a huge Chilul Hashem. And this Chilul Hashem is, I can almost say it's going to be in a fashis. It's mamish blood libels. You have no idea what's going on. How many people on social media, anti-Semitism went up? Because they're claiming that the Fruma Jews, the Orthodox Jews are the ones that are spreading it. And we got to be careful not to feed into that narrative up until a certain point.
Rabbi, what about
why is it has a better idea? Share it. I just know I'm in touch now with a whole group of rabbis that's our approach. Now we got to make it legal. We can't do anything that's illegal.
And are there other rabbis that are disagreeing with that?
So again, Danny, like this, I'm not going to say no one is disagreeing with what I'm saying. I would just argue that many Jews who care about health, they care. It's not they don't care. They feel that like for Shavuos, to make an outdoor Kriyas HaTorah or even minyan, if everyone it's going to happen in 2 weeks from now, it's going to happen. We're going to, why not do it a few weeks earlier? They feel that if it's done b'tzina, if no one is going to know about it, in Israel, they're doing it, they feel that you can do it. Yeah. At least they don't want to, yeah. And other Rabbanim are trying to get everyone on the same page. We got to stick together. We got to all do the same thing together. Let's see if that's going to hold. It doesn't look like it's going to hold. I think the smaller shtibelach, the problem is that you should know there are many shuls that don't care about social distancing that much because many individuals don't take that seriously. That's already a problem. If they're right, halavai, good for them. But if they're wrong, then we got a danger. In other words, there's a danger element. We got to follow the medical. The medical world says that if people 15, 20 minutes are within 6 feet, if one person has it, they can pass it to the other. That's what everyone is saying.
So the Chilul Hashem issue will never go away then if no one is going to all take it seriously. So then if the Kulei Alma, not everyone is taking it seriously.
A big part of the Chilul Hashem is if it's illegal. I'm not going to use the word, it's not illegal. It's not a Gezeras Hashmad. It's that everything was closed down. The city is opening things up. They did not put faith gatherings yet. We're not yet in that phase. I think we're in phase 3. They're beginning with phase 2. We're not there yet. So the Chilul Hashem aspect is that if the government does not allow to do it yet, why are you doing it?
Yeah, that's true.
For the past 2 months without a minyan, it's not ideal. Yep. We're not going to be here forever, but follow the society. That's a good taina. I subscribe to that taina. I don't want to do anything illegally. Officially, for sure not. I'm saying if we'll find out that a few guys of Solo took a Sefer Torah, well, if they're getting together Shabbos and they're sitting in there, rightfully so, with social distancing, what they can't read the Torah, I know that argument.
There'll be a lot of machlekes in shul also with people who are for and against it. Every shul is going to have different opinions.
I know that, Semach. I know that. I just think I was just sharing with a few people. So I walked out Shabbos, but I didn't feel, thank God, in the positive. The first time I felt koyach, I walked out to Shabbos, and it was beautiful. And I met a couple of Yidden. I would say that when you have an outdoor environment or even an indoor environment, I think we'll have to buy new tables, little tables. Let's say if the shul buys whatever the number is, and every seat only has one table, and the shul puts every table 8 feet away from another table, I would go with 8 feet. I think that prevents a lot of problems. So lechatchila, you have your already social distance.
How are we going to talk in shul then?
Huh?
How are we going to talk in shul then?
We'll talk a little bit louder. No,
We'll have a Zoom club. You'll have a Zoom club in the kitchen.
No. That David leader should make for us little pekalach. When you come to shul, you can have your siddur, your chumash, a little l'chaim, a little farbais, and everyone on their table. Everything you need will be on the table. Sanitized with Jonathan sanitation. It's going to be verspritzt with the abaseta stuff. And that's it. We'll have to make an environment that someone has to really go out of their way to break the social distancing. We're going to have to figure that out. And I know that outdoors, I'm very happy with the outdoors. We have, Baruch Hashem, a lot of outdoor space. I really think that we should make use of it for health reasons, because the medical world is saying that outdoors is better than indoors. So let's go to outdoors. Guys, we're almost there. I'm telling you, we're almost there. There's a lot of achdus. I know there's a lot of tension. I really strongly feel that we got to do it legally, because anyway, some people are going to break it. Let's at least say it from our part. We did it legal. We shouldn't make a chil Hashem. I don't want to make a chil Hashem.
New York already said, Cuomo said he might let it. I
know that. I'm saying it might happen. But Cuomo said he might let it, not in New York City. He said clearly. He said he might let it because whoever asked the question, I think, was from Monticello, which means, like in LA, people don't live so much on top of each other. He said 15 people. Even if they allow 15 people, then we'll make a rotation. If they'll make 15 people, I mean, we have to do this in a kosher way. Then we'll do kriyas. We'll do rotating kriyas. I don't mind that. We'll go by alphabetic order. I mean, it's going to take some effort of making sure that whoever says they're coming, 15 people, a few people miss, you have 1 million. And your time is from this time to that time, and maybe just make rotation kriyas.
So the Kiddush is not coming back anytime soon, realistically.
The Kiddush, the way we had it, is not coming back soon, but I still think that if every table can have on it a little bit of something, I'm not so clear. I'm just, Danny, we don't have enough room, but if everyone has some food on their table, I'm not talking about a full-fledged Kiddush, but something that after davening, we should make Kiddush, make the Kiddush, have a l'chaim, sing a few nigunim. Maybe we may, let's see.
One step at a time.
Leaders just started these individual dinners for takeout that are very delicious.
I think there's a beautiful part of the shul is also the fabringen afterwards. If we can figure out a way where it's 100% safe, then it's kedai, the effort and the money, because it brings people together. Not everyone is gonna just come to shul to daven. Also, yesh v'yesh. We gotta. We'll figure it out.
Have a good day. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
Why is all of Talmud Babli and all of Messiah? Why is all of the Matilde pretty much in
Amazing, and Aramish. So that was the whole word. When the Rebbe spoke a few times about this, Gabriel, the Rebbe was speaking about why the Baal Shem Tov spoke in Yiddish. And the Rebbe pointed out that throughout history, the Yidden had a Jewish language. Now, don't forget, the Aramish of the Gemara is a mixture of Aramish and Lashon HaKodesh. The Nakuda is that Lashon HaKodesh is so holy that people felt, the people in the street, that you can't use Lashon HaKodesh to speak Divrei Chayil. And therefore, many people were not as familiar with Lashon HaKodesh than with the country's language. And Yidden wanted to be distinct, B'Lashonim. That was going back to Mitzrayim. So the compromise we made is that we'll have our distinct Lashon, but it won't be Lashon HaKodesh. It'll be Aramish, it'll be Ladino, it'll be Yiddish. So I guess it's Jewish, but we're giving importance to Lashon HaKodesh by only using it for Divrei Torah. That's how it began. Now, once you introduce this concept, Gabriel, so generations came and they didn't know Lashon HaKodesh well. So when you began to learn with them, they didn't understand it well. Right? Like in Israel, you learn the Chumash, it's Ivrit be'Ivrit, Amachaya. But in America,
that backfired.
You don't know a word. So they started to write the Torah down in the language spoken. It's like so many books in America, they're written in English. Why they're written in English? Why don't you write them in Lashon HaKodesh? Because people don't understand Lashon HaKodesh. Now, Bashgacha Pratis, when the state was found, the state of Israel, that was the big, one of the many arguments that the Charedim had with the state, not to make Lashon HaKodesh the spoken language, because not to be machalal the language. It turned out that they made Lashon HaKodesh the spoken language, and it became accepted by all Yidden. And we learned this in Shabbos Ram Barachas, that we are allowed to speak, right? I think that was in Shabbos. We are allowed to speak Divrei Choyel using Lashon HaKodesh. So now Hebrew is back. And more people are speaking in Hebrew. More and more books are being written in Hebrew. It's going back. Now Aramish, no one understands. Fakir. Now you have to break your head to understand Aramish. It used to be the opposite. Everyone understood Aramish. Fewer people understood Lashon HaKodesh.